Today we're taking a look at these NFL matches, which are happening on Saturday, August 27, 2022, and giving you match breakdowns, betting tips and predictions in general on these games. Welcome back to High Stakes. Let's get straight into it. Also, don't forget to subscribe to get notified as soon as we release these sport prediction videos. And if you would like more betting tips and predictions, then check out our Patreon in the link down below. Our new Patreon is a way for us to help you improve your chances of making more money. Multiple plans are available for each and every one of you. You can get 30 extra betting picks all the way up to 360 extra betting picks per month. Stop wasting hours of your time searching for bad betting picks that ends up costing you a lot of money. Join the High Stakes Patreon now and get the best betting picks. Going back to our video, we will give you at least 5 betting picks for each game, a team pick, a total pick, and multiple prop bets based on facts and detailed explanation. So make sure to watch our videos till the end so you don't miss any of our picks. Jacksonville Jaguars versus Atlanta Falcons. The Jacksonville Jaguars are yet to get their first win of the season, as they will be looking to finish the preseason strong in this one. They fell to the Pittsburgh Steelers last week, as their offense couldn't put up enough points to win the game. I wouldn't expect to see Trevor Lawrence in this one, either. He played a lot last week and the Jags will want to look at some other guys before making final cuts. The Atlanta Falcons looked great in the first half of their second preseason game, but their offense completely stalled in the second half. Once Mariota and Ridder stepped off the field, the Falcons stopped moving the ball. The Jets stormed back and got the 24-16 win. I wouldn't expect to see many Falcons starters in this one, as well. Our team pick is Atlanta Falcons -4 points. And here is why. I'll be riding with the Atlanta Falcons -4 in the final game of the preseason for these two teams. The Jaguars have failed to get a win this preseason, and I don't see the Falcons' backups falling to the Jaguars. Atlanta showed that they could successfully move the ball through the air, as they finished last week's preseason game with 265 passing yards. I also thought Desmond Ridder looked great in both of his appearances this preseason, as he will be able to dice up the Jags in this one. Jacksonville's secondary has continued to have problems, as they allowed 255 yards through the air against the Steelers. They looked great against the run, but I don't think they can stop the pass. Atlanta is going to throw the ball up and down this field to get the W in this one. I also like the Falcons' defense in the first half of last week's game, as they will be able to make it difficult for the Jaguars' backups. This week the Jaguars will most likely sit a majority of their starters, as the risk to reward of playing the starters is too high. This means that a combination of E.J. Perry and C.J. Beathard will be leading the way at quarterback. It hasn't been very pretty for these two throughout this preseason. They are a big reason why the Jaguars have not been able to get going offensively. Jacksonville has not scored more than 15 points in any of their preseason games so far. Last week against the Steelers, neither quarterback could manage 100 yards passing. Our total pick is over 37.5 points. And here is why. Both of these defenses are bad and the Falcons have been getting scored on a lot this preseason. The Jaguars haven't scored more than 15 points, but against this defense, they may finally be able to put together something. I've stated before how much I'm loving the Falcons' quarterback room this preseason, and I think they can definitely score some points in this game. Mariota has been putting the ball in the end zone consistently this preseason. Ridder is going to be hungry as ever, as this should be his last game action for a while. I think the Falcons can score at least 24 points in this game. If the Jaguars can put together a few drives and get to that 15-point number they've been sitting around all preseason, this should go over. Our prop bets are: first pick is Atlanta Falcons over 20.5 points. The Atlanta Falcons held an average of 303.8 yards per outing, which ranked them 29th in football. They maintained an average of 85.4 rushing yards per game and ran for 1,451 yards for the year. The Atlanta offense totaled 753 penalty yards on 92 violations, which had them sitting 25th in the league in terms of making mistakes. They tossed 15 interceptions while surrendering 11 fumbles, and they obtained 196 first downs. Last year, the Falcons compiled 3,713 passing yards as well as averaging 218.4 passing yards per game, ranking them 16th out of all NFL teams. Regarding their ability to score points, the Falcons were 26th in the league, maintaining an average of 18.4 points per game. Our second pick is Jacksonville Jaguars under 20.5 points. The Jaguars had 5,191 total yards for the prior campaign. Jacksonville compiled 178 first downs as a team, and they were hurt by 104 penalties for 856 yards. Jacksonville totaled 12 touchdowns through the air and 13 rushing touchdowns. They turned the football over 29 times, 17 interceptions and 12 fumbles lost. As a team, they averaged 103.2 yards on the ground, ranking them 22nd in the National Football League. When it comes to scoring points, the Jacksonville Jaguars averaged 14.9 points per outing. When talking about passing yardage, the Jaguars gave up 3,875 yards, which put them in 17th in the league. Over the course of their 17 games played last year, they allowed 227.9 yards per outing via the pass, as well as allowing a completion percentage of 69.4%. They allowed 353.1 yards/contest, putting them 20th in the NFL. They surrendered 24 touchdowns via the pass and 22 touchdowns on the ground. They allowed teams to run for an average of 4.3 yards per run and 125.1 rushing yards per game for the previous season. For the year, they allowed 2,127 running yards through 17 contests. The Jaguars were ranked 28th in the NFL in terms of team defense, allowing 26.9 points per game. Our player props are: first pick is Trevor Lawrence, over 100.5 quarterback rating. The Jacksonville Jaguars ended the season holding a 3-14 mark. In their last game of last year, the Jaguars took the field against the Colts and took home the win by a score of 26-11. Trevor Lawrence finished 23-32 with 223 yards through the air and 2 TDs. He had a quarterback rating of 111.8 and ended the game with no interceptions. Raquel Armstead was the leader on the ground for the Jaguars with 9 carries for 52 yards, 5.8 yards per attempt. Marvin Jones averaged 12.6 yards per reception by accumulating 88 yards on 7 receptions. The Jacksonville Jaguars ran the football 31 times and compiled 101 yards, which had them averaging 3.3 yards per attempt. For the game, they ran 64 plays, which converted into 318 yards. Jacksonville relinquished 17 pass completions on 29 tries for a total of 139 yards and a completion percentage of 58.6%. In the running game, the Jaguars conceded 94 yards on 18 attempts, which is an average of 5.2 yards per run allowed. Second pick is Matt Ryan, under 90.5 quarterback rating. The Falcons wrapped up their season having earned a 7-10 record. For their last game of last season, the Falcons walked away with a loss by a score of 30-20 against the Saints. Mike Davis ran the football 6 times for 30 yards, finishing the contest with 5.0 yards per carry for Atlanta. Russell Gage was one of the featured targets for the Falcons, grabbing 9 throws for 126 yards, 14.0 yards per catch. Matt Ryan, 1 TD, finished the game with 216 yards on 20-33 passing, while his QB rate was 77.3. He had 1 interception and his average yards per pass attempt was 6.55 yards. Atlanta gave up 46 attempts on the ground for 195 yards, 4.2 yards per rush. The Falcons' passing defense allowed a completion percentage of 66.7%, surrendering 174 yards on 16 out of 24 through the air. The Falcons ended up finishing with 257 yards and they ran 48 plays, 5.4 yards per play. Atlanta ran the football for 5.2 yards per carry, finishing with 62 yards on 12 attempts.